Welcome back to Wake Up America. It has been more than 5.5 weeks, just days away from Christmas, and still no closure for the families of the 4 University of Idaho students murdered in their off-campus home.
Joining us with the latest on the investigation now is FBI agent and former Navy SEAL Johathan Gilliam. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Johathan, I want to start with where the investigation is. 5.5 weeks in right now, law enforcement officers and crime analysts are warning the public not to draw any conclusions, to play into any of the conspiracy theories about the unsolved murders. But there's still been no arrests. Moscow police insisting the case is not going cold. But you can't help but wonder, has someone messed up this investigation? Why do they not have a person in custody?
Well, I think it's clear that they don't have somebody in custody because they don't have the evidence to prove that somebody did something wrong. I think that is as silly and simple as that sounds, that's the case. So, but with that being said, is Moscow PD, and I've said this all along, is Moscow PD the agency that should be leading this investigation? What I want everybody to be clear on is that, when the FBI rolls into town or the state police roll into town, whatever town they roll into, it's typically on request from that town. The state has a little bit more of leeway there, but the FBI definitely, if there's no nexus to a federal crime, then they have to be invited into that case. So I think when we look at this particular case, it's important for us to know, and we don't know, from a civilian standpoint, we want to know what's going on. Is Moscow police and the FBI and the state police working together? Because quite often what we see is that smaller police departments that do not have the experience, they do not want to let go of controlling the case because of ego reasons, even though they don't have the capabilities to carry out the complete investigation or the experience for that matter. So we don't know if that's the case. And I would implore Moscow Police Department that is what they can brief everyone on. Put everybody at ease. Let us know that they're working smoothly with the FBI and they don't have to tell us all the details, but just let us know that they're working smoothly, that these people are in charge of this. But ultimately, I do wish that the state of Idaho would take over that investigation, just so that we know that that's who the controlling entity is.
Yeah, I think just people want answers, but we can understand why they can't reveal everything. But yesterday, Idaho police, Johathan, were seen back at that house with a black case. They were there for about 20 minutes. Now, I know you weren't there, so we can only speculate. But what do you think they may have been looking for? And Johathan, I think this goes back to the point that you've made here on Wake Up America, when the families wanted and had some of the items of their children removed from the home. Now we see investigators back in that home.
Right, and I'm glad you brought that up, Allison, because, they're obviously not going to get what was taken from that home. That's a problem, and I said this from the beginning. The people, as harsh as this sounds, the people that lived in that part of the house are no longer alive. So why was it just an absolute necessity to go in there and remove things from that home? We don't know, because we don't have a killer. We don't know what items in there might have been needed. Maybe there was something specific they find out that the killer was obsessed with. Maybe it was something and not some person. And there's things that have been disturbed and moved. So this is a problem, not only with catching someone, but this is a very important, any prosecutor would tell you this, is that if they catch this person, and hopefully they do, now the important part of it becomes prosecution. Can they prosecute them? Because we've seen this with Scott Peterson, with other people where, it seemed like they were very guilty, but Scott Peterson almost walked free. So there have been killers that have walked free because they can't prove that they are guilty. So this is a very sticky situation, I think, that they have themselves in. I'm not particularly sure what they were looking for inside that home, but if it was enough for them to go back to that location, then that is a serious thing, because they've been in there and disturbed the scene.
Let's bring it back to that white Hyundai Elantra. It was found in Eugene, Oregon. Police had been saying over and over, we need to find the person who has this car. They might know what happened during those murders. But now they're saying they don't believe it is actually connected to the Idaho murders. Jonathan, what do we know about this car? Where do you think the actual Elantra they're looking for is? Have they located it at this point? It seems like they're just kind of chasing their tails at this point. We're looking for a car. We found the car. Wait, it's not the car. What's going on?
Right. Well, I mean, white Hyundai Elantras are everywhere. So they found this particular one. I don't know how they honed in on this one, but as it turns out, they found the owner. The car had been wrecked, and they cleared it. It was nowhere around that area. Had nothing to do with it. But I did find that it's very intriguing that that car was found an hour from where another murder happened a little over a year ago in Salem, Oregon. I believe that's where it was. And in the case where somebody broke into a home at 3 in the morning and attacked 2 people, one of them died. So that's a very interesting coincidence, and it was a stabbing. Now, it may not have had anything to do with it. They say they've cleared it, but nothing's truly ever cleared. But they say they know what this car had that wasn't involved. I don't know if they'll ever find that car. I'm not exactly sure, without the use of cell phones and a tracking device, if they'll be able to know exactly what car that was and why it was there.
Yeah, Jonathan, we have about 20 seconds, but there's a lot of things going on TikTok and social media, these conspiracy theories. What have you seen about that, and what would your advice be, to the parents or anybody involved in this investigation?
Well, I'm come under huge scrutiny from some of these online sleuths for some of the comments that I've said, and I think that I do know some of them, and they're doing a great job. I had one that he actually went around and looked at that area at night and realized that there's grates in the ground. He said it didn't look like any of them had ever been removed. I would suggest that law enforcement, based on what he told me, look in those grates in and around that home. So sleuths can do a great job, but they can also impede the flow of evidence, just like I've said the Gonçalves family has done. People need to be very careful how they put things out into public. If they don't know it for sure, they need to kind of reserve themselves in their opinions right now.
And I know one of the families has hired a private investigator because they're just hoping for answers. I can't even imagine. Johathan Gilliam, thank you so much for your insight as always. We appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you.
Of course.